Well, hey y'all, Saturday night here, the Six Gun Slinging, here to do another little knife review. And somebody in one of the comments asked me to do a review on some of the Benchmade knives I have that I mentioned in other reviews. So I'm going to do one now on a knife that is just a fantastic EDC option. Usually I'm carrying a traditional, but a lot of times I'll carry a traditional and a modern folder. And one of the modern folders that I'll carry is this little guy right here, the Benchmade 537 GY, and it is also known as the Bailout. But what's different on this guy is the regular Bailout knife has a FRN handle, or fiberglass reinforced nylon, Benchmade proprietary blend of that. And it'll have a different type of steel. This knife right here, though, has M4 tool steel. Let me see if I can show you. And it says that right here. Got M4 tool steel. Benchmade, there it is. Benchmade does a really good job on their M4 steel. Like any steel, I've said this a million times, but it's true. It does bear repeating that a steel is pretty much only good as its heat treat. M4 steel was originally developed as a high-speed tool steel to be able to withstand, a lot of pressure and a lot of. Anyway, you can look some of that stuff up, but it was made by a company called Crucible Metals. And obviously it works really well for the knife industry because of its incredible wear resistance and its incredible toughness. It truly is a super steel. And while it is a super steel, one of the attributes that it does not have is it's not particularly stainless. But it is strong, incredibly strong. It's easy to sharpen. I mean, you can... with just a little bit of work, you can get a razor sharp edge on this steel, and it'll hold it for a long time. Not this knife. I have another knife I'm going to do a review on it. It's actually a Benchmade that I was using it and I dropped it and it fell on the tip, and it didn't do anything to the blade. Didn't do anything. I mean, the tip is still not too long after that I dug out a splinter with the tip. It's still super pointy. I'm really impressed with this steel, and it holds an edge for a long time. When it comes to super steel, I've always been a fan of some of the first super steels, and Benchmade used them, was a 154 CM. And before that, Benchmade actually used the AUS 8. In fact, I got it right here. I'm going to do a review on this guy later, but this is an early striker model. And you can see that they actually put Balisong. That was when they were doing it, Balisong. But it has titanium liners and a frame lock. And it's made of AUS 8. And that's going back to the early 90s. We'll talk about that one later. But that's what Benchmade used. And then it progressed to 154 CM. And then now they've progressed and they're starting to use a lot of the other super steels. And one of them, it's kind of for a super steel anyway, it's kind of long in the tooth as this M4, but it's still around because people love it because it is just a really good steel. And to help address some of those stainless issues, they've given it this kind of gunpowder gray coating on here. And you can see it has a tanto point. It's a really good tanto point. It's not ridiculous, but it works. And a lot of people think that the tanto point is a gimmick. It's goofy, and it's not. The reason that tanto point was designed was for piercing and stabbing, and it very much works. So, I mean, the Japanese invented that however many thousands of years ago, and there was a reason for it. In your EDC task, you're doing stuff, a lot of times you do have to stab, and I'm not talking in a tactical role. I'm just talking about, something as simple as getting through a package or, any number of things. It gives you a really strong tip. And it's able to be sharpened to a razor's edge. It still acts as a regular knife, but you have that advantage of that really really capable piercing ability. Another thing is this knife was actually designed also to be a tactical roll. It's got that name Bailout, and part of the reason for that name is it was supposed to be carried by troops, but you'll look here, it has a carbide tip glass breaker, that little tiny nub right here that you see, and that's situated on an aluminum, I can't think of the name, this thing right here. So my brain's flipping up here, and coffee wore off. Anyway, a lanyard hole, excuse me. And it's situated on this aluminum lanyard hole, and it's held in with the screws. Has a what you would think would be a really ineffective and anemic pocket clip. It's not. It's a really good pocket. It's small, it's short, but it's a deep carry pocket clip, so there's just a tiny little bit of this knife sticking up out of your pocket. It won't draw a lot of attention, and it's in there really sturdy. I really admire Benchmade for their pocket clips. I think they do some of the best pocket clips in the industry. Not to say that they haven't made some sort of goofy ones, but they're really, really good. And the cool thing about Benchmade, at least they did, I don't know if I imagine they still do it, but if you don't like your pocket clip, you can get on the phone or an email with Benchmade, and they'll mail you out like another one or two. You tell them, hey, I want an arrowhead pocket clip, I want a long deep head pocket clip, and they'll mail it to you. Same with this knife, and they're all pretty much interchangeable. So if for some reason you didn't like this pocket clip, Benchmade will take care of you. And that's what I like. That's what I like about Benchmade. They are a really good company. They're now, some of their knives are not perfect. They had some real minor centering issues, and people get upset, or the grinds are not exactly perfect. But the thing about that is, it's a handmade knife. Not just handmade, but it's all machine done. But the edges and stuff are put on by hand. But the centering thing, there's a couple videos out there. I don't need to do another one, but you can research them, and there's real simple tips for how to straighten out the centering. And the long story is you loosen up all the the short story, excuse me. You loosen up all the screws and the pivot pin, and then you push the blade over where you want to be with a little piece of paper or something when it's closed. And then you tighten them all back up and then loosen them up a little bit, and then you're straight. That's not the exact procedure, but that kind of gives you an idea. This one has good centering. It's perfect right out of the box. It's just sometimes they come with that. And if you don't want to do all that, you could just mail it back to Benchmade. It'll cost you $5, and they'll do it, and they'll sharpen it up for you. And Benchmade is so awesome. I've sent several knives to them. They'll sharpen your knife. They'll replace any little thing, even if you ask them. If they'll usually go through your knife and find out if there's anything that needs replacing. But if you ask them, I want new Omega springs, they'll do it. They'll put a new pocket clip on it for you. They'll sharpen. They'll do all kinds of stuff for you. But all that comes with the cost, and Benchmade knives have gotten really expensive. There's a price for that warranty, and that's one of them. But let's get back to this knife. The outside scales are done in this Ranger green aluminum. They are textured. You can see the pattern that they've molded into that really, I think it's T4 aircraft aluminum. I'm not sure the exact formulation. It is really a durable aluminum with zero flex. It's a really rugged, well-made knife. Now, Benchmade makes another knife that this knife is patterned after called the Bug Out, and there's a lot of similarities. A lot of people were complaining about the Bug Out because it's real thin like this. You see, look at what an incredible thin little package they give you. They were complaining about this knife, saying that it felt cheap because you could take your thumbs like this and you could bend it a little bit. But it was made out of FRN, and that bend is kind of built into the design. It flexes and it goes right back. But they said, it feels cheap and it's dumb. But anyway, so what they did here is they made your frame out of aluminum, and then the other bailout has that FRN, and it's pretty much exactly like the bug out. This knife is a lot like the bug out, except that it has these aluminum scales in the M4 steel. I love this knife. In fact, this knife replaces a Benchmade 940 that I give to a guy. I talked about him on here. He's a military guy that has given me some really high quality knives that he got issued that they didn't tickle his fancy. So, but he always wanted a 940, so he got a 940. And everybody's excited about the 940. Me too. I thought it was pretty cool. But then I saw this and I thought this was so much better. The bug out didn't quite do it for me. The blade shape of the bug out did, but I didn't like those FRN scales. This thing does it all. It's an upgrade from the Benchmade 940's S30V steel. I like that. I like these Tonto tips because I have a Benchmade AFO. That's a military issue knife. I'll do a review on it later. And I had it for years, and it has a Tonto tip, and it's really good. Benchmade has this access lock. That's this lock here, if you're not familiar with that. It has these little thing called Omega springs, and they're called Omega springs because there's a little spring in here shaped like an Omega that goes up and down and like that. That's an Omega. And to actuate this knife, you can pull this down and just flick it open like that. And then to close the knife, you can do the same thing. You just kind of hard to do on camera here. It also has a thumb stud, and that knife flies out of there. I mean, it's just, and I'm doing it in a cramped space, but it's as easy and as fast to open as an automatic knife, in my opinion. It takes nothing. I mean, just a slight flick of the thumb, and it's flying out there. And I'm talking very slight. And you can loosen up that pivot and lubricate it and get it even faster. I don't do all that. I'm happy with the way this knife is right now. This knife takes a razor's edge. It's easy to get on there. I was just using a Spyderco Sharp Maker. I've upgraded to a Work Sharp Elite Precision, and now they have a Work Sharp Pro that's even nicer. But that's a really great tool for maintaining an edge on your knives. I'm very happy with it. Really, if you just keep this thing stropped up a little bit, you don't have to sharpen it for a long, long time once you get that good edge on here. This glass breaker, it works. We used it messing around on some glass, but one just like it, not on this knife, but it was actually on a Leatherman Raptors. It had a tiny little nub just like this on a pair of Leatherman Raptors, and my friend locked himself out of his car, and he was all frustrated. And he used the glass breaker to get in. I thought that was a dumb idea, but I lent him my tool and he did it. But we found some auto glass, and we broke some with this knife, and it worked. It worked really well on safety glass, so it works, you know. But that's not saying a lot, because if you really need to get in, like you can do like the thieves do, in the asshole thieves, they'll actually use spark plugs because it has that hardened tip on one end, and they'll break into cars with the spark plug. But it's nice to have it on your knife. You never know. You see a doggy locked in there in the summer, or a little kid or something, you can be the hero. Like I said, this pocket clip, it's held in here. This one, some of Benchmade knives are held in with 3 screws. This one's held in with 2. It's very, very secure. I think they're all T6. All the little screws on here are T6. And I don't know what size. I forgot the pivot size, because I don't really mess with the pivots a lot. The knife is the blade, is 3 3/8 inches long. And I think the whole knife is about 4 inches, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the weight. It was something like 2 ounces, or a little over 2 ounces. And for having a full-size capability, I mean, look at that. You know, that's a 3 3, almost, you know, on the better side of 4 inches. You get plenty of handle to hold on to. You're getting a hell of a knife. Incredibly tough. It's got lateral, you know, which is side-to-side strength. I don't know. They showed some guys that have stabbed it into a tree and stood on it, with the blade into the tree. I'm not going to do that. But it has plenty of lateral strength. With that Tonto tip and being built as well as it is, you could thrust this knife into a tactical role. Tactical role meaning basically you could stab somebody with it if you were in trouble and you had to use this as a defensive weapon. You get some guys, they get all excited about that. I can see why, because, we don't want to have our knife rights violated, but they'll say, oh, no, don't mention that. But, I mean, it's true, a knife should not be used, you don't want, offensively, you don't want to go around like, obviously stabbing people or anything. But if somebody, if you had to, and it's the only thing you had on you, but by that same token, if you had a screwdriver or a ratchet handle or anything you could use as a weapon if if somebody was attacking you, you didn't have anything else. And a knife kind of falls into that category. It's a kind of a last ditch tool to save your life. I live in Texas. You can carry a gun with you here legally without a permit. I've always had a permit. I still have a gun carry permit from back then, but you don't need one anymore. You can carry a knife concealed or open. A gun concealed or open, and so you don't really need a knife. If you carried anything, I'd recommend carrying pepper spray or something. I'm definitely not liberal or anything like that, but if you're going to shoot somebody, I don't think you should, or stab somebody. I definitely don't think you should do that unless you absolutely have to. And you should have some other non-lethal options at your disposal. But if you don't, you don't. If you're in a restaurant or a theater or the mall and some mass shooter comes in there, then at least you have some kind of tool to defend yourself and others with. My priority, we talked about that. If you're with your family or something, your first priority is to get your family to safety and not engage the shooter. That's what I think. You want to take care of your people first. But some people don't. They think they would charge in and they would attack a mass shooter. But if you got a handgun and they got a rifle, well, you're probably not going to make it. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, we're getting back to the Benchmade Bailout. This material, the Ranger Green coating on here, it's pretty durable. You can see a little bit of, just on the edge here, you probably can't even see a tiny little bit of wear. And I've carried this knife quite a bit. I got so many knives I don't carry it every single day. I've just started carrying it again recently because I was gonna, give y'all a look at this thing. But if this was your only knife, it was the only knife you had in your collection. That's how I judge a really good pocket knife by, is if this was the only knife you had and had to do everything, I think it would do it. I think you'd be fine. Sorry about that noise back there. It's the air conditioner kicking on and off. It gets hot down here in West Texas. But if this was your only knife, it was the only thing you had to use for everything, including skinning a deer, whatever. It's the only knife you had, I think you'd be all right. This knife cost me, I got it from Cabela's, and I think it ran me like $240 at that time, which is a lot of money for a little bitty knife, It's not little bitty, but I kind of think it's worth it, and then I kind of think it's not. If you get the one with the FRN handle, the regular bailout, it's a little cheaper. I think I might even be under 200. Somewhere a little bit, not too far south, but a little bit under 200. And it's up to you to decide if it's worth it. It's an American-made knife. It's high quality. It's made of premium steels. Benchmade always uses premium materials. And they give you that warranty. You're paying for that. You get that really fantastic warranty. It's incredibly well made. It's gonna last. It's up to you. I don't know. Everybody has a different budget. This guy Patty Potato Peelers on here, he talked about what's the most you would spend on a pocket knife. I don't know. I can't say. I mean, that's your call. Like some people would never spend more than $50, and for $50 with these Chinese made Wee knives and stuff like that and Civivis, you'd get a really high quality knife for under $50. You could walk away. Even the old Ontario Rat 1, they make them now in D2 steel, and you could have a very capable, high quality knife with the good blade shape and everything under $50. Anyway, so that's been a look at the Benchmade. I'll give you a look around here. Obviously, there's no liners. There doesn't need to be. If you can look in here, they did a couple little small cutouts to kind of save on weight a little bit. They're placed strategically so as not to compromise strength. It's a very thin pocket knife. It disappears in your pocket. That's the only problem with this thing too, is when you stick it in your pocket, you don't know it's there. It's so slender. It rides so well that you forget you have it. Unless you're a knife nut like me and probably you, where, you're always thinking about your knife for some reason. You know it's there, but it is so small it disappears in the pocket until you need it. You can put, it is tip-up carry, which is the American way of carrying a pocket knife. However, if you are one of these strange people that are left-handed, look at here, you can switch it over to this side. You can carry it tip up, right or left. That's the only option they give you. That's really the only option you need. Tip up is the, to me, guys give a lot of static, but that's the proper and American way to carry a knife, is tip up. So you do have right and left-handed capabilities. You just unscrew your pocket clip and switch it over here if you're a lefty. It is completely ambidextrous, thumb studs on either side, like most knives are now. It still retains Benchmade's tried and true Omega spring access lock. Talking about this access lock, it's been around for a long time, and anytime, like Glock guns or anything like that, anytime you have a really well-made, well-proven design, you're going to have people that, for whatever reason, rally against it. And people say, oh, the Omega springs break easily. I flicked it open 3 times and the Omega spring broke. I kind of think those people are full of shit. Even the guys that are fidget flippers, they sit there thousands and thousands of times all day on the couch. And a knife's not made to do that. There's no reason for you to do that. But if you want to, they hold up to it. So I don't know what was going on that they broke their Omega springs. But you can order extra heavy-duty Omega springs made by another manufacturer other than Benchmade. You can order them online, and you can keep some in stock if you're one of those people. I've had Omega springs for years and years since they came out with it, and I've never had a single problem ever in my life. Although I've never had a back spring break on a knife, and I had that happen one time on a Rough Rider traditional knife. So not to say it couldn't happen. And, it has happened to people. I just question the circumstances behind it. But maybe if it ever happens to me, I won't, The only bad thing about the design, though, is if the Omega spring breaks, you are shut down. The lock engages to where it'll hold it open and it'll hold it closed, and you're relying upon that Omega spring. I don't know. I've never heard it happen, but it might. That's one detractor that some people might come up with. But really, no design of any tool that is made by man is 100% reliable. And if you need something that's approaching 100% reliability, and actually pretty close, you want to get you a fixed blade. You shouldn't be carrying a folder in the first place. If you're that reliant on a knife that it has to 100% work every single time under any circumstances, don't carry a folder, carry a fixed blade. And I have some fixed blades when I'm going places out in the wilderness or wherever, and I have to have a knife, well, I think I do. I don't really, but you're camping or something like that. You want a knife that's going to work, where potentially you could be in a survival situation, although that's highly unlikely. You want to carry yourself a fixed blade because it is going to work. There's a very small chance you could break it, but it's pretty unlikely. I heard stories of guys surviving with a Swiss Army knife, specifically a Swiss champ. These hikers got lost and they had it's not little, but they had a Swiss champ, and the guy made a fire with the magnifying glass and, used the saw to cut down some limbs because, the ground was all wet, and he built an impromptu shelter for him and like 4 of his friends. You can look that story up on Google, but this guy survived with the Swiss Army knife. So I think it has to do more with the person than it does the knife. But if you have to have one that'll absolutely be 100% reliable, then carry a fixed blade or carry both. How about that? I think this knife, who's this knife good for? I think it's good for military, police. I think it's good for hikers. If you're a day hiker or a through hiker, I think it's good for you because it's light enough and it's capable enough to do every task that you would need from a knife, but not really weigh you down. And they say those hikers, back when I used to hike a lot, I hike a little bit now, but ounces or pounds when you're hiking long distances. So you want to get the most you can get out of a knife or any other piece of kit that you carry. It absolutely has to literally carry its own weight and utility. So I think this knife would fill the bill. If you're looking for a great knife, I'll give you a look around. Take a look at the Benchmade Bailout. Some people hate Tonto tips. If you do, well, don't get a Bailout. Take a look at the Bug Out. The Bug Out's going to be a little bit lighter because it has FRN handles, and the FRN Bailout will be a little bit lighter. But I like this durability, these aluminum scales, and at under 2 ounces, I mean, that's plenty light for me. That's been a look at the Benchmade Bailout. It's a fantastic knife. To me, it's worth the money, although it's hitting at the border of, cost versus benefit. And you're getting a really great knife. It's American made of top quality materials, and the warranty is second to none. That all has value. That has a lot of value. But does it have $240 of value? I don't know. Obviously did for me because I bought it. But with so many great knives coming out of China, if you just need pure utility and you don't take those other factors into it. And Civivi and WE and those other companies, they do offer lifetime warranty. I've never tried them. I don't know how effective or good they are, but that might be something to consider. Considering we might be going to war with China soon, you might have to start looking at American-made knives. I don't know. Once again, that's a whole nother story. But if you ask me, is this knife worth it? I'd say yes. I'd say it was worth. To me, it's subjective, but to me, it's worth the $240 that I paid for it, and it definitely will last a lifetime. It'll start looking a little beat up over time, but it'll be worth it. If it gets if the finish gets too roughed up from carrying it for years and years of service, and you can just have it Cerakoted and any color you want and be back in business. The mechanics, everything in the knife, it'll last a lifetime, and Benchmade will ensure that it does. So you send it back to them, they'll sharpen it, refurbish it, do everything that you need done, and I have used their service, and it does work. Anyway, that's my review of the Benchmade 537 GY Bailout. I really appreciate y'all stopping by. If you like what I'm doing here, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to build up my little channel here. I'm not, I'm a small channel, but I'm trying to build it up. I like knives. If you stop by, I think you do too. So you're definitely most welcome here. And y'all take care, and we'll catch you down the road.